Welcome to Podcast Time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Podcast Time. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rachel. We are so glad you're joining us today. You know, Nick, I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and she told me something that I think almost every English learner feels at some point.
Let me guess. She said, I can read English well, I can write a bit, but when people speak to me, I just don't understand anything.
Exactly. She said it feels like a giant wave of sound hitting her. She recognizes some words, but by the time she processes the first sentence, the speaker is already on sentence number 5.
That is so common. It's what I call the listening wall. It's frustrating because listening is the skill we use the most in real life. If you're at a cafe, or in a business meeting, or even just watching a movie, you need to understand what's happening in real time. You can't exactly hit a pause button on a person in real life, can you?
I wish. That would make learning a language so much easier. But since we can't pause people, we have to train our ears. Today, we're going to talk about how to do exactly that. We want to move from just hearing English to really listening and understanding it.
Right. And I think the first thing we should address is the fear. A lot of learners get very nervous when they don't understand 100% of what is said. They hear one word they don't know and they panic. Their brain stops working because they are focused on that one missing piece of the puzzle.
That's a great point. I always tell my students that even in my native language, I don't always hear every single word perfectly. Maybe there is background noise, or someone has a different accent. But I use the context to fill in the gaps. For learners, the goal shouldn't be 100% word-for-word translation. It should be understanding the gist, the main idea.
The gist. That's a good word for our listeners. G-I-S-T. It means the general meaning. If you understand the gist, you can stay in the conversation.
Precisely. And one reason listening is so hard is because of how English sounds. In textbooks, every word is pronounced clearly. What are you going to do? But in real life, Nick, how do you say that?
Oh, I'd probably say, what you gonna do?
Exactly. Everything gets smashed together. We call this connected speech. To a learner, it sounds like one long, strange word. If you're looking for 5 separate words and you hear one big sound, you're going to get lost.
So, the first step is really just accepting that it's okay to be a little confused at first. We have to get comfortable with the noise. But don't worry, we have some very specific techniques to help you break through that wall.
We definitely do. It's all about building a habit and using the right materials.
So, Rachel, we just mentioned building a habit. I think a mistake many people make is thinking that just having English on in the background while they cook or clean is enough. They think the language will just soak into their brain like a sponge.
Right. That's what we call passive listening. While it's not bad, it definitely helps you get used to the rhythm and the music of English. It isn't the fastest way to improve. If you really want to see progress, you need to engage in active listening.
Active listening sounds like hard work, but you're right, it's much more effective. When I say active, I mean you are actually focusing your full attention on the audio. You aren't doing the dishes, you are sitting down with a pen and a piece of paper.
Exactly. A great exercise for this is shadowing. Have you ever tried that with your students, Nick?
Oh, all the time. For those of you listening who haven't heard of it, shadowing is when you listen to a short sentence and try to repeat it immediately after the speaker. You try to copy their speed, their emotion, and where they put the stress in the sentence. It's like being an echo.
It's so powerful because it forces your brain to process the sounds quickly. Another technique I love is the 1-minute rule. You take a very short clip of a podcast or a video, just 60 seconds, and you listen to it 3 or 4 times. The first time, you look for the gist. The second time, you try to write down the specific details. By the third or fourth time, you're trying to catch those small words like the, or in that usually disappear in fast speech.
I love that because it's not overwhelming. Anyone can find 1 minute in their day. If you try to listen to a 1 hour lecture, you'll get tired and give up. But 1 minute? That's manageable.
And it's about quality over quantity. If you understand 1 minute perfectly, that's better than listening to an hour where you understood nothing. It builds your confidence.
Speaking of confidence, let's talk about the material. Should learners be listening to the news? Or movies? Sometimes I think the news is actually harder because the vocabulary is so formal and specific.
I agree. I usually suggest starting with things that interest you. If you love cooking, watch a cooking show in English. You already know the context. You see the eggs, you see the flour. So when the chef says, whisk the eggs, even if you don't know the word whisk, you can see what they are doing. The visual helps your ears.
That's a huge tip. Context is your best friend. It's like a safety net that catches you when the vocabulary gets too difficult.
You know, Nick, we just talked about using visual cues like cooking shows. But what about when there are no pictures? Like what our listeners are doing right now, listening to a podcast.
Podcasts are actually one of the best tools for intermediate learners. When you take away the video, your brain has to work a little harder to build a mental map of what's being said. But the trick is choosing the right level. If an A2 learner jumps straight into a fast-paced political debate or a complex science podcast, they're going to feel defeated within 2 minutes.
That's where graded material comes in. For our friends listening, graded doesn't mean you're getting a score like in school. It means the language has been designed specifically for your level. There are so many podcasts out there made just for English learners where the hosts speak a little more clearly and use common vocabulary.
Exactly. It's like lifting weights at the gym. You don't start with the heaviest weight on day one. You start with something you can lift, and then you slowly add more weight as you get stronger. Listening works the same way. If you listen to something that is just a little bit difficult, what we call comprehensible input, that is where the magic happens.
I love that term. Comprehensible input basically means you understand about 70 to 80% of what's happening. You understand enough to follow the story, but there are enough new words to keep you learning.
And the great thing about podcasts is the rewind button. I always tell my students, don't be afraid to listen to the same episode 3 times. The first time is for the story. The second time is for the language. The third time is for the rhythm. By the third time, you'll be amazed at how much clearer the voices sound.
It's almost like the sound becomes high definition. And another tip for podcasts, use the speed settings. Most apps let you slow down the audio to 0.75 or 0.8 speed. It gives your brain that extra half second to catch the ends of words.
That's a lifesaver, especially with speakers who talk as fast as I do. But I also want to mention transcriptions. A lot of educational podcasts provide a written version of the audio. Rachel, do you think learners should read and listen at the same time?
It depends on the goal. If you're struggling to connect how a word looks to how it sounds, then yes, reading along is fantastic. It connects the eye memory with the ear memory. However, eventually, you want to put the text away. You want to trust your ears alone.
I agree. Use the transcript like training wheels on a bicycle. Use them to get started, but once you feel a bit of balance, try to ride without them. It might feel a bit scary, but that's how you truly improve your listening stamina.
We've talked a lot about techniques and materials, but there's another big hurdle that students always mention: accents. Nick, I've had students tell me they can understand their teacher perfectly, but when they meet someone from Scotland or Texas or Australia, they feel like they're learning a completely different language.
Oh, I totally understand that. It's a huge challenge. English is spoken in so many different ways around the world. Even within the same country, the sounds can change dramatically. It's not just about the words, it's about the melody and how people clip or stretch their vowels.
Exactly. And the mistake many learners make is sticking to only one type of English. If you only ever listen to one specific American accent, your ears become specialized. You become really good at that one sound, but your brain isn't flexible enough to handle anything else.
So the solution is ear cross-training. Just like an athlete trains different muscles, a listener should train with different voices. If you spent last week listening to a British podcast, maybe this week you should find a YouTuber from Canada or a storyteller from South Africa.
That variety is so important. But I should add a little warning. Don't try to learn all the accents at once when you're just starting out at the A2 level. Get a solid foundation first. Once you feel comfortable with a standard accent, then start introducing a bit of variety. It's about building flexibility over time.
And it's not just about native speakers either. In today's world, English is a global language. You're just as likely to speak English with someone from Italy or Brazil as you are with someone from London. Listening to non-native speakers is actually a fantastic way to improve your skills. It teaches you to focus on the core of the message rather than just the perfect pronunciation.
That is such a great point. It takes the pressure off. Sometimes learners think there is only one correct way to hear English. In reality, English is a collection of many different voices. If you can understand a wide range of speakers, you're actually a more advanced listener than someone who only understands a specific textbook recording.
It also helps with what I call predictive listening. When you hear different accents, you start to realize that while the sound might change, the structure usually stays the same. Your brain starts to predict what word is coming next based on the grammar, even if the pronunciation is a bit unfamiliar to you.
It's like a puzzle. The more pieces you've seen from different sets, the faster you become at putting the whole picture together. It's all about exposing yourself to the real world of English, which is wonderfully messy and diverse.
You know, Rachel, we've covered a lot of technical strategies, but I want to talk about the psychology of listening for a moment. Have you ever noticed how some students get frozen the moment they hear a word they don't know?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a deer in headlights. Their face goes blank and they stop listening to the next 3 sentences because they are still mentally fighting with that one unknown word. I call it the translation trap. They are trying to translate everything into their native language in their head instead of just letting the English flow.
The translation trap is dangerous. It creates a massive delay in your brain. By the time you've translated neighborhood into your own language, the speaker has already finished talking about their house, their dog, and their job. To improve your listening, you have to learn to let go.
That sounds almost like meditation, but it's true. You have to trust that the meaning will come to you later in the conversation. If you miss a word, ignore it. Keep moving. Often, the speaker will use a synonym or explain the idea in a different way a few seconds later. If you stay frozen on that first word, you miss the explanation too.
Exactly. And to help with this, I recommend something called micro-listening. This is perfect for people who say they are too busy to study. Micro-listening is taking those tiny moments in your day, waiting for the bus, standing in line for coffee, or walking the dog, and filling them with 30-second bursts of English.
I love that. It's about frequency. If you listen for 5 minutes 6 times a day, your brain stays in English mode. It's much more effective than studying for 3 hours once a week on a Sunday. When you do those short bursts, your brain doesn't have time to get tired or stressed. It's just a quick check-in with the language.
And for these short bursts, social media can actually be a helpful tool. I know we usually think of TikTok or Instagram as a distraction, but for a language learner, short 15-second videos are perfect. You get a quick shot of natural, fast English, often with captions on the screen. It trains your brain to catch the vibe of a sentence very quickly.
Just be careful not to fall down the rabbit hole and spend 2 hours watching cat videos. But you're right. The goal is to make English a natural part of your environment. You want to reach a point where hearing English doesn't feel like work. It just feels like information.
It's about lowering that affective filter, which is just a fancy way of saying lowering your stress. When you are relaxed, your ears actually work better. Think about when you watch a movie in your own language. You aren't trying to hear, you are just receiving the story. We want to get you closer to that feeling in English.
It's amazing how much we've covered today, Nick. From the 1-minute rule to the importance of relaxing and letting go of the need to translate every single word.
It really comes down to consistency. But before we finish, I want to mention one more thing: creating your own English bubble. You don't need to move to London or New York to improve your listening. You can bring those cities to your living room.
I completely agree. Technology has made it so easy. You can change the language on your phone, or better yet, change the settings on your smart speaker. Imagine asking for the weather or the news in English every single morning. It's a small interaction, but it trains your ears to expect English as soon as you wake up.
And don't forget about music. Listening to songs is a fantastic way to practice. Music uses rhyme and rhythm, which makes words easier to remember. I always suggest finding a song you like, listening to it without the lyrics first, and then doing a revelation listen where you follow along with the text. You'll have those aha moments where you realize, oh, that's what he was saying.
Those aha moments are the best feeling in language learning. They are the signs of real progress. And speaking of progress, I want to remind our listeners to be patient with themselves. Listening is often the last skill to click. You might feel like you aren't improving for weeks, and then suddenly, one day, you'll watch a video and realize you understood almost everything.
Exactly. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on being curious. If you hear a sound that interests you, or a phrase that sounds funny, celebrate that. You're teaching your brain that English is a tool for connection, not just a subject in a book.
Well said, Rachel. Listening is the bridge to speaking. The more you take in, the more you'll eventually be able to put out. It's been so much fun sharing these tips today.
It really has. We believe in you. Keep those ears open and keep practicing.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye for now.